Hello everyone, welcome to another session on Ways with Words. And in this session, we are going to start with a new poem, and that is the poem by Robert Frost. The title of the poem is A Roadside Stand. Okay, so this is Robert Frost. He is like a very, very popular and familiar, famous poet from America. And he lived mostly through, you can say, the 20th century. Okay, we all are at least at one point of life, you might have come up with his quotes or his poems. And he's the only poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. Okay, so a few words about Robert Frost. He is in your textbook. It is mentioned as he belonged to New England. New England is not England. It is basically America. For those people who do not know, so he's basically from America, and that to the northern regions of America, and that's why he you can say that he's from New England. Okay, he was born in San Francisco, California, but after after the death of his father, he shifted on to some other places, and you can say. So anyway, he's the only poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry, and Robert Frost's poetry style could be described as conversational, realistic, rural, and introspective. Okay, conversational, it is in the form of a conversation. It is realistic. Realistic means real life pictures are in fact being portrayed and not like imagination kind of things. Then rural background, rural setting, he talks more about rural life than about city life. And introspective, his poems kind of give us some insights to introspect, some insights to think on, like that. So like food for thought, kind of things you can see from his poems. And towards the end of that particular passage, paragraph, you can say, it is usually said that his poems begin in delight and end in wisdom. Okay, that is how his poems are. We feel like, yes, I have understood every bit of his, his poem. That is what we actually see when we read his poems. And everything will be like very, very familiar to us, and there is no need of in fact a dictionary also for most of his poems. So it's like very simple and lucid style, and language, diction is very simple. Diction means language is very simple, but towards the end we can say that, so we are in that delightful kind of a mood when we read his poems, but towards the end you can see that it ends in wisdom. He says, there are so many things that we can actually take from that poem, and these are like some of his very, very famous quotes. One is from the poem Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This is from the poem The Road Not Taken. Then next one is from the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Okay, these woods are lovely and dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he said like this is one of his most favorite kind of a quote. Then another one, the next one is from the poem Mending Wall. Okay, and in that he says, my apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines. I tell him, he only says good fences make good neighbors. So this is like some of his very famous quotes. It's in fact a lot, many are there, but I have just taken few. So this particular poem, you can say, Roadside Stand, in this poem the in this poem Frost presents the lives of poor and deprived people with pitiless clarity and with the deepest sympathy for all humanity. So that is the basic stuff you can see in the poem. Before we get into the poem, I'll give you kind of, very few introduction, a very short kind of an introduction about the poet and the poem. As I've told you, he's an American poet and he lived through, mostly through the 20th century, and he is one of the most widely read poet in America and was like a national celebrity. He has in fact, for the for the presidential inauguration, that for American, in case of America, there is something that we see as presidential inauguration. So for the presidential inauguration, he was asked to recite the poem. John F. Kennedy's presidential inauguration, he was asked to recite the poem, and there was some problem with the sunlight during that particular time, and he instead of reading out the poem that he has brought to that particular function, he read it out. He recited something out of his memory. It's like a very popular kind of a thing. So, in general, you can say this particular poem, A Roadside Stand, Frost, in this particular poem, he deeply empathizes with the farmers who sell their fresh, might not be impressive, but it is in fact fresh products, or you can say what exactly they have produced in their farms. They are selling it, and they are selling it in a temporary stand along the busy road, and the vehicles are passing, this particular stall ruthlessly, you can say, and even recklessly, without any kind of care. It's more or less we feel like they are into danger. That is a feeling that we get. So the expectations of the peasants soar up. It is getting it is getting fly high. That is the feeling that they get when every vehicle pass by the stand, but soon it will be like crushed down. Okay, so that the sound of the brakes is kind of a welcoming kind of a gesture for the farmers, but all enthusiasm will get slowly crushed down. Okay, by the time they pass, these sweetie tellers, either they will casually ask for the price of the produce, or like they kind of they ask for something that is not available, including petrol, okay, not available in their store, and they just take a reverse and get into the car and reverse, and they just move away. So it is basically about that pathetic kind of a picture of the peasants. Okay, and they have in fact put up a stand in the roadside. I mean, stand in the sense a stall, okay, in the roadside, to reduce their poverty, but not just to reduce their poverty, you can say, but also to get some kind of incentive, okay, so that they can experience a share of the luxurious life that the people in the city they are living. Okay, so here in the poem, it is basically a sharp contrast between the city life and the rural folk that is in fact being depicted. Okay, if I summarize in one or two words in Malayalam, this poem, Robert Frost is a very famous American poet. This poem is a side of ചെറിയ കട എന്ന് പോലും നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല, വെറുതെ ഒരു സ്റ്റോള് പോലെ വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്ട്രക്ചർ തന്നെയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പം ഫാമേഴ്സ് അവരുടെ ഫീൽഡിൽ നിന്നുള്ള പ്രോഡക്റ്റ്, അത്രയും ഫ്രഷ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രോഡക്റ്റ് അവർ വഴി സൈഡിൽ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് വെച്ച് വിൽക്കുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ അതിലെ ഓരോ വണ്ടിയും ഹൈവേയുടെ സൈഡിലാണ്, അപ്പോൾ ഓരോ വണ്ടിയും അതിലെ പാസ് ചെയ്ത് പോകുമ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് ഭയങ്കര സന്തോഷമാണ്. ഒരാൾ വരുന്നു, പൈസ കൊടുത്ത് വാങ്ങിക്കണം എന്നുള്ള സന്തോഷത്തിൽ നിൽക്കും. പക്ഷേ ഒന്നെങ്കിൽ ഈ വണ്ടികളെല്ലാം ഭയങ്കര സ്പീഡിൽ കടന്നു പോകും, ഒന്ന് തിരിഞ്ഞ് നോക്കുക പോലും ചെയ്യില്ല. ഇനി അഥവാ ഇറങ്ങിയാലും ചിലർ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, വെറുതെ ഒരു പൈസ ചോദിച്ചിട്ട് അവർ വാങ്ങിക്കാതെ കടന്നു പോകുന്നു. അല്ലാത്തവർ നിർത്തി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇവരെ കളിയാക്കുന്ന പോലെ, ഫാമേഴ്സിനെ കളിയാക്കുന്നത് പോലെ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു ബന്ധമില്ലാത്ത കാര്യം ചോദിച്ചിട്ട് അവരത് അവസാനിപ്പിച്ച് അവർ വണ്ടിയിൽ കയറി റിവേഴ്സ് എടുത്ത് അവർ തിരിച്ചു പോവാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ബേസിക്കലി ഈ ഫാമേഴ്സിന് അവരുടെ പോവേർട്ടിയിൽ നിന്ന് രക്ഷപ്പെടാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടൊന്നുമല്ല, പക്ഷേ ഈ സിറ്റി ഡ്വെല്ലേഴ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, സിറ്റിയിൽ താമസിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾ, നഗരത്തിൽ താമസിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾ, ഇവർക്കൊരു ഭയങ്കര ഫാസിനേഷനാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ ലൈഫിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഷെയർ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടുകയാണ്, അവരുടെ പൈസ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിൽ കിട്ടുമ്പോൾ. പിന്നെ പല മാളുകളിലൂടെയൊക്കെ സഞ്ചരിച്ച് അവരുടെ പൈസ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിൽ വരുമ്പം, അപ്പോൾ അതെന്താണ്, ഞങ്ങൾക്കും ആ ഒരു മാളുകളിലൂടെ സഞ്ചരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന പോലത്തെ ഒരു ഫീലിംഗ്. ആ സഞ്ചരിച്ച പൈസ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിൽ വരുമ്പം ഞങ്ങളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പോകുന്നു. വലിയ വലിയ സിനിമ തിയേറ്ററിലൊക്കെ പോയി സഞ്ചരിച്ച പൈസയുടെ ഒരു കുഞ്ഞു കഷ്ണം ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിലും വരികയാണ്. അപ്പം അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് ഒരു കോൺട്രാസ്റ്റാണ് പിക്ചറൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഒരു സൈഡിൽ വളരെ പത്തറ്റിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സിറ്റി ഡ്വെല്ലേഴ്സിൻ്റെ പിക്ചറും, പത്തറ്റിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള റൂറൽ ഫോക്ക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആളുകൾ, റൂറൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഫാമേഴ്സിൻ്റെ പിക്ചറും, അപ്പുറത്തെ സൈഡിൽ സിറ്റി ഡ്വെല്ലേഴ്സിൻ്റെ ഒരു പിക്ചറും. ഓക്കെ, so that's all about the first video.